Emily Lawson had grown used to quiet days where nothing surprising happened and no one knocked on her door except the mailman or a neighbor with the wrong package. She lived in a modest apartment on the north side of Seattle, surrounded by trees that blocked most of the sun. Her life had slowly become a routine she didn't notice anymore. She woke up early, worked long hours from home, ordered her groceries online, and rarely interacted with anyone outside of work calls. But on that rainy Thursday afternoon, a knock on the door felt slightly different. It was sharp, quick, almost urgent, as if someone needed her attention right away, without thinking too much. She opened the door, and that was when everything shifted. Standing there was a delivery guy she had never seen before. He wasn't like the usual workers who came in and out of the building, always in a rush, barely making eye contact. This man stood still for a moment, meeting her eyes with a soft, warm expression that felt strangely comforting. His hazel eyes were calm but observant, as if he noticed things others didn't. His short brown hair was a little messy from the rain, and a drop of water slid down the side of his cheek. His uniform jacket was slightly wet at the shoulders, but he didn't seem bothered by it. His name tag read, Ryan. "Delivery for Emily Lawson," he asked, but his voice wasn't rushed or distracted. It carried a tone of polite concern, like he wanted to make sure he wasn't disturbing her. Emily nodded. "Yes, that's me." He held out a small brown package, and she reached for it. Their fingers brushed for just a second. Nothing dramatic. Nothing intentional, but still enough to make Emily pause. She wondered why such a simple touch felt noticeable. Maybe because she hadn't interacted closely with anyone in a long time? Maybe because this stranger had an unexpectedly gentle presence. As she took the package, Ryan looked at her with a thoughtful expression. He had no reason to say anything besides the usual scripted phrases delivery workers used. Yet he hesitated, as if searching for words. Then he said quietly, "I hope your day gets better." Emily blinked in surprise. No delivery person had ever said something like that to her, especially not in that warm tone. She didn't know what he saw in her face, tired eyes, messy hair, or simply the exhaustion she carried like a shadow, but his comment felt strangely comforting. It wasn't rude, it wasn't crossing a line, it was simply kind. And kindness had become rare in her daily life. "Oh," she said softly, "thank you." Ryan nodded once, gave her a small half-smile, polite but sincere, then stepped back for a second. Emily felt an odd urge to say something more. Maybe ask if the weather was always this bad on his route, or how long he had been working today. She wasn't usually someone who tried to make small talk with strangers, but for some reason she didn't want the moment to end so quickly. But Ryan turned and walked down the hallway with steady steps, not in a hurry, but clearly focused on finishing his route. Emily watched him for a moment before she closed the door. She didn't even know why. Maybe she was just curious. Maybe she simply wasn't used to people being kind without any reason. Inside her apartment, the silence felt heavier. She set the package down on the kitchen counter and looked out the window. The rain was still falling, soft and steady, making the world look blurred and gray. Normally, Emily loved the rain. It made her feel calm, safe, hidden. But today, it made her feel strangely aware of her own loneliness. She tried to shake off the feeling it was only a delivery, only a moment, only a stranger. But her mind kept replaying his voice. "I hope your day gets better." Why would he say that? Did she look upset? Did she seem stressed? Or was he simply the kind of person who addressed people with gentleness? Emily wasn't used to strangers noticing her. Most people passed by without looking twice, and she preferred it that way. Attention made her nervous. But the way Ryan had looked at her wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't invasive. It was simply human. And she hadn't felt genuinely seen by anyone since her breakup almost a year ago. She tried to distract herself with work emails, but she found herself glancing at the door now and then. She wasn't expecting him to come back. Delivery drivers didn't return without a reason. Still, her mind stayed stuck on the moment. She reminded herself that it didn't matter. He was just doing his job. She was just a customer. Their paths had crossed for less than a minute. Yet the small exchange left a tiny spark inside her, a feeling she couldn't quite explain. Not attraction alone, not curiosity alone, something softer, something deeper. A strange sense that the universe had shifted slightly. Even if she didn't understand why, she opened the package, but she barely paid attention to what was inside. The words from earlier still floated in her mind. Her phone buzzed work messages, reminders, schedules, but none of them pulled her back into focus. She stared at the rain outside and wondered how a single short moment could echo so loudly across her entire afternoon. Emily wasn't someone who believed in signs or fate, yet today, something felt different. Something in the way Ryan had looked at her made her feel noticed, and not in a dramatic, movie-like way. More in a quiet, real, human way that touched the part of her heart she tried to keep hidden. She took a slow breath, trying to push the moment away, but it stayed. She didn't know if she'd ever see him again. Delivery workers had rotating schedules. He might never return to her building. Maybe this was just a one-time coincidence. But as she sat there with her thoughts drifting, she couldn't help feeling that the knock on the door wasn't just another delivery. It felt like the beginning. Something, even if she didn't know what it was yet, something surprising, something warm, something that made her feel awake again. Emily didn't know that Ryan would return later that evening. And she definitely didn't know that what he would say next would change her entire day. The evening rain fell heavier as the sky darkened, turning the streets outside Emily's apartment into shining ribbons of water. She tried to settle into her routine tea, a light dinner, a bit of reading, but her mind kept drifting back to the delivery earlier. She couldn't explain why. It was such a small moment, yet it clung to her thoughts like something important was hidden inside it. She told herself she wouldn't let a brief exchange with a delivery guy distract her. But deep down, she knew the truth. The quiet kindness in Ryan's voice had touched a part of her she had ignored for months. At exactly 7 p.m., when the rain softened into a misty drizzle, another knock came at her door. This time it wasn't sharp or rushed. It sounded more like someone uncertain, someone hesitating. Emily froze, staring at the door, her heart picking up speed for reasons she didn't want to admit. She wasn't expecting anyone, no neighbors, ever came by, and she hadn't ordered anything else online. For a moment, she considered ignoring it. But the knock came again, gentler, almost patient. She walked toward the door, a strange blend of curiosity and nervousness building inside her. When she pulled it open, the hallway lights spilled in and there stood Ryan. He was without a package, without his delivery bag, without the usual "I have something for you" look that delivery workers carried. Instead, he seemed unsure, almost apologetic, as if he wasn't sure if he should even be standing there. Emily's breath caught. "Ryan," he gave a quick nod, brushing rainwater from his jacket sleeve. "Sorry, I know this is strange. Didn't mean to bother you again." Her confusion deepened. "Is everything okay?" He took a moment before answering, shifting his weight slightly, like he was gathering courage. "I think made a mistake earlier." Emily frowned softly. "A mistake?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver bracelet. The metal glimmered under the hallway lights, and Emily recognized it instantly. Her heart dropped. It was her mother's bracelet, the one she wore almost every day. It's the one that meant more to her than any piece of jewelry she owned. She hadn't even realized it was missing. "I found this on the ground near your door," Ryan said quietly. "I wasn't sure if it was yours, but I remembered seeing something like it when you reached for the package." Emily's eyes widened, a mix of relief and shock flooding her. "Oh my gosh, yes! That's mine! I can't believe I dropped it." She reached out to take it, but Ryan didn't let go immediately. Not in a forceful way, more like he wanted to make sure she really had it before releasing it. Their fingers brushed again, and this time Emily felt the moment linger longer than it should have. "You looked upset when you opened the door earlier," Ryan said softly, "and I didn't. Want this to add to your day?" His voice carried a warmth she didn't expect. Concern, respect, kindness, all wrapped into one quiet sentence. Emily swallowed, feeling a tightness in her chest she hadn't expected. "Thank you. Truly, this means a lot to me." Ryan nodded, once more his hazel eyes holding hers with a gentle steadiness. "I'm glad I brought it back. I didn't want you to lose something important." Again he spoke with that careful honesty that made every word feel sincere. Not flirtatious, not exaggerated, just real. And real was something Emily wasn't used to lately. They stood there for a moment, the soft hum of the hallway lights filling the quiet air between them. Emily realized she was staring, almost studying him the way the rain had dampened his hair. The tired but kind look in his eyes, the way he held himself like someone who noticed small things others missed. She finally broke the silence with a small smile. "I'm glad you came back." Ryan's lips curved into a gentle smile, almost shy. "Me too." He stepped back slightly, giving her space. "Well, I should get going. Didn't want to leave this overnight." Emily nodded, still holding the bracelet against her palm like something fragile. "Thank you again. You didn't have to go out of your way." He shrugged lightly. "Sometimes it's good to do something that feels right." That line echoed inside her, simple but strangely comforting. Ryan turned to walk down the hallway. Emily watched him go, feeling something unusual pull at her. She didn't want him to leave so quickly. She didn't know why. It wasn't romantic. Attraction, not exactly. It was more like she felt seen, noticed in a way she hadn't been for a long time. "Ryan?" She called out before she could stop herself. He paused and looked back, eyebrows slightly raised. "Thank you," she repeated, her voice softer now. "Really?" He nodded again, a warm spark in his eyes, then disappeared around the corner. Emily closed the door slowly, pressing her forehead against it for a moment. Her emotions were tangled in ways she didn't expect. She wasn't used to feeling this kind of softness from anyone. She had spent the past year rebuilding herself after a painful breakup, learning how to stand on her own again. But moments, like this moment's filled with simple kindness, had become rare. She walked to the couch and looked down at the bracelet in her hand. The tiny engraved charm, worn from years of use, brought back memories of her mother's gentle hands fastening it around her wrist. Losing it would have crushed her. The fact that Ryan noticed it, picked it up, and came back to return it, it meant more than she could say. She wondered how someone who barely knew her could show more care in one evening than people she had known for years. Outside, the rain slowed into a soft drizzle. Emily sat with her thoughts swirling. The hallway moment replayed again and again in her mind. Not the bracelet, not the surprised knock, but the way Ryan looked at her. Calm, kind, as if she wasn't invisible. She wasn't sure what it meant. She wasn't sure if it meant anything at all. Yet something inside her shifted just a little, making space for a quiet, hopeful feeling she didn't recognize at first. Whatever today had been, it had changed her mood. It had touched the loneliness she tried to ignore. And even though she told herself not to think too much about it, she couldn't help it. She didn't know that this wasn't the end. She didn't know Ryan would return again, not because of a package, not because of a mistake, but because he had something he needed to say. The next morning arrived with a pale, cold light that slipped through Emily's curtains before she was fully awake. She had tossed and turned most of the night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw this scene from the hallway, Ian's gentle smile, the way he held out her bracelet, the warmth in his voice when he said he didn't want her to lose something important. It had been so simple, yet it shook something loose inside her. It had been months since someone spoke to her with that kind of quiet honesty. Months since someone looked at her with sincere concern instead of passing indifference, she told herself. She was being dramatic, that she was reading too much into a small act of kindness. But the truth was, she couldn't forget the moment. It stayed with her, warming her in a way she didn't expect. Just as she picked up her coffee mug, a soft knock echoed through the apartment. She froze. It was too early for packages. Too early for visitors. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her heart leaped into her throat. It couldn't be him again, could it? The knock came once more, gentle but steady. She walked to the door, her pulse quickening. When she opened it, she felt her breath catch. It was him. Ryan stood there holding a small takeaway coffee cup in his hand. His uniform jacket was on, but it wasn't zipped yet, as if he had rushed over before starting his route. His hair was still slightly damp from the morning air, and his cheeks carried a faint pink from the cold. But his eyes, those calm hazel eyes, held something different. Today, a softness mixed with a hint of nervousness. Emily blinked. Ryan, he gave a small, shy nod. Morning, I hope this isn't strange. She stared at the coffee cup, then back at him. You're here early. I start my route close by, he explained, shifting the cup slightly as if suddenly unsure of himself. And I wanted to bring you this. He extended the coffee toward her. She hesitated, but eventually reached for it, her fingers warming around the cup immediately. It smelled fresh and comforting. You didn't have to do this, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. I know, he replied quietly. I wanted to. They stood in silence for a few seconds. It wasn't uncomfortable, just filled with unspoken questions neither of them knew how to ask. Emily finally found her voice. Is something wrong? He exhaled slowly. No, nothing's wrong. I thought a lot after last night. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I know it's not normal for someone like me to show up again. Delivery guys don't usually come back without a reason. But I felt like I left something unsaid. Emily's breath tightened. She didn't know where this was going, but she could feel something emotional building under his words. Ryan looked at her with a seriousness that surprised her. When I first brought you that package yesterday, he said, you looked tired, like you were carrying more than you let people see. Emily's heart skipped. She didn't expect him to notice something so personal. He continued, I see a lot of people every day. I knock on hundreds of doors. Most people don't look at me. They just grab the package and close the door. But you, he hesitated, then spoke with a quiet honesty. You looked like someone who needed a moment of kindness. Emily swallowed, her throat tightening. She tried to speak, but nothing came out yet. Ryan gave her a gentle, understanding smile. I'm not saying that to make you uncomfortable. I just thought maybe a warm drink might help start your day better, even if it's small. Emily finally found her words. That's very thoughtful of you. He nodded, but didn't step back. His eyes held hers with an openness that made her chest feel strangely light and heavy at the same time. I'm not trying to cross any lines. I just wanted you to know that someone noticed you. In a good way. People deserve that. Emily felt her eyes sting, but she blinked the feeling away. I guess I haven't felt noticed in a while. Ryan nodded slowly, his expression softening. Life gets heavy. We forget to check in with ourselves. And sometimes we need someone else to remind us we're doing okay. The hallway felt smaller now, warmer. Like the world had narrowed to just the two of them and the quiet between them. She looked down at the coffee cup and smiled softly. Thank you. Really, he took a step back, but not far. Can I say one more thing? Emily nodded. He looked down at his shoes for a moment, then back at her. Yesterday, when I left your apartment, I kept thinking about the look in your eyes. Not sad, just weary. And something inside me didn't want to walk away from that without doing something small to make your day better. Emily felt her breath hitch again. His words were gentle, honest, and unexpectedly brave. You don't even know me, she whispered. I know, he said quietly. But sometimes you don't need to know someone long to see something real in them. His Words sank into her deeper than she expected. There was something powerful about a stranger seeing past her walls. Not in a dramatic way, but in a human, sincere way. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, Emily felt lighter. She let out a soft breath. "Thank you, Ryan. You didn't just bring coffee. You brought something I didn't even know I needed." He smiled, small but full of warmth. "I'm glad I came back then." Emily stood there, unsure how to end the moment, afraid to close the door because she didn't want the connection to break. Before she could figure out what to say next, Ryan added gently, "If you ever need someone to talk to, even just for a moment before my rude time around." Her heart warmed at the unexpected offer. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't a move. It was kindness. Pure, simple, genuine. And that meant everything. Ryan finally stepped back. "Have a better morning, Emily." When he walked away, Emily didn't close the door right away. She watched him go, holding the warm cup against her chest, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time, a quiet spark, a soft hope, sense that maybe, just maybe, this stranger wasn't meant to stay a stranger. And she had no idea that tomorrow something even more heartfelt was waiting. The moment Ryan walked away, the hallway felt strangely empty, as if he had taken the coldness of the morning with him and left something warm behind. Emily closed the door slowly, holding the coffee cup he brought her. The warmth of it seeped through her fingers, calming her in a way she didn't expect. She wasn't used to acts of kindness from strangers. She wasn't used to attention that wasn't rushed, shallow, or transactional. And she definitely wasn't used to someone looking at her with such gentle honesty. She sat on the edge of her couch, staring at the door he had just walked through. Her world had been quiet for so long that even a small spark felt overwhelming. Yet that spark lingered, growing into something she couldn't ignore. She didn't even know Ryan beyond a few conversations. But his presence had already changed the rhythm of her days. About an hour passed. Emily tried to start her work, but her thoughts kept drifting back to him, his steady voice, his shy smile, the calmness he carried even when he seemed nervous. She kept wondering why someone like him would care enough to return, not once, but twice. She told herself not to read too much into it, but she couldn't help it. Her heart recognized something before her mind did. She didn't expect to see him again that same day. She thought the morning moment was the last one. But around midday, another knock sounded at her door, gentle, familiar. This time she rose, quickly, as though she had been half waiting for it. When she opened the door, Ryan was there again, holding nothing in his hands. No coffee, no package, no excuse. Just him. His expression held a softness mixed with hesitation, like he had been debating whether to knock at all. "I'm not interrupting, right?" he asked quietly. "No," Emily said, shaking her head. "You're not." He let out a small breath, relieved. "I have a break right now, and I didn't want to spend it wondering if I should have said something earlier." Emily stepped back just enough to invite conversation without making him feel pressured. "What did you want to say?" Ryan looked down for a moment, then seemed to gather his courage. "When I came here earlier, I didn't tell you everything. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know if it was too much." Emily felt her heartbeat pick up again. She waited. He finally looked up, his hazel eyes steady. "Yesterday, when I first saw you, something in your expression stayed with me. I don't usually think twice about people I delivered to." He paused, careful with his words. "You looked like someone who needed someone to notice them." Emily swallowed, unable to speak right away. "I don't know why it mattered to me so much," he continued, "but it did. I kept thinking about it last night and this morning. And now I'm here again because I just wanted to make sure you're okay." Emily's eyes softened. She never expected anyone to care like this, especially someone who barely knew her. For a long moment, she couldn't find the right words. Everything she wanted to say felt too tangled. "Ryan," she began, her voice low, "I didn't think anyone could see past all this? She gestured vaguely toward herself, meaning the tiredness, the stress. The loneliness she hid behind forced smiles and silence. He stepped a little closer, not invading her space. Just enough to show he was listening. I don't know your whole story, he said gently, but I can tell when someone is carrying more than they say. She felt a quiet ache rise in her chest, not painful. Just emotional, like something long locked away was finally being seen. Can you? She hesitated, surprising even herself. Come inside. Just for a few minutes. Ryan blinked as if he hadn't expected the invitation. Then he nodded. Yeah, of course. She moved aside and he entered the apartment with respectful steps, staying near the doorway at first as if unsure of the rules. Emily sat on the couch again and motioned for him to sit across from her. He did, leaving enough distance to be respectful, but close enough to feel present. For the first few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Emily exhaled slowly as though releasing something heavy. I've had a rough year, she said. Breakup that left me feeling invisible. Work stress. Too much time alone. I guess yesterday just caught me on one of those days where everything feels heavier than it should. Ryan listened without rushing her, without interrupting. His expression stayed soft and steady, the same gentle patience he had shown since. The moment they met, I'm sorry you went through that, he said sincerely. No one deserves to feel invisible. Emily felt her eyes warm again, but she blinked the feeling away. I didn't expect you to notice anything. I didn't expect anyone to. He leaned forward slightly, his voice quiet but strong. But I did. Those 3 simple words struck something tender inside her. She didn't know why they felt so powerful, but they did, like someone had finally reached through a door she hadn't realized she closed. Emily looked at him. Her voice, barely above a whisper. You changed my day. Ryan smiled softly, and it wasn't just a polite smile. It was warm, hopeful, almost relieved. You changed mine, too. He said. The room felt warmer, lighter, like something meaningful had bloomed between them without effort, not romance, not yet. But connection, real, genuine connections, something Emily had forgotten the feeling of. They talked a little longer, nothing heavy, just gentle conversation about work, about the city, about how life sometimes surprises them when they least expect it. Every word felt easy, natural, like talking to someone she had known for longer than a day. Eventually, Ryan checked the small watch on his wrist. I should get back to my route, he said, but his voice held a quiet reluctance. Didn't want to leave without telling you what I felt. Emily stood with him. She felt the same reluctance, but also a quiet sense of gratitude for the moment, for the honesty. For him. As he reached the door, he turned back, offering one last gentle smile. If you ever need someone to talk to again, I'm around. Not because of my job, it's because I want to be. Emily felt warmth fill her chest, soft and bright. I'd like that, she said simply. He nodded, then stepped into the hallway. The door closed softly behind him. But the room didn't feel empty anymore. Emily stood there for a long moment, her hand resting on the door, feeling a quiet truth settle into her heart. Sometimes a stranger appears at the exact moment your life needs a soft shift. Sometimes a simple knock carries more meaning than you expect. And sometimes something beautiful begins in the most ordinary hallway. For Emily, this felt like a beginning, gentle, hopeful, and exactly what her heart had been waiting for.